Thanks so much, JC, for coming in to talk to us today at Cogent.
Pleasure.
We've been working together a little bit over the last few months, which has been really fun.
It has.
We've been working on your startup, Tappl.
Yes, indeed.
So we've got some questions that we'd like to ask you about being a founder and working with Cogent and all the things that you've learnt.
Hit me. Ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
They're hard hitting. So firstly, I'm interested in your journey to startup because it's an interesting one. So how did you become a startup founder?
I joined a startup and became a pivoting founder because I wanted to create beautiful products. I've worked at Telstra, a large company here in Australia, for the last 18 years. The last 8 of that managing their big products. So I ran the broadband space for a long time and then ran the whole mobiles division. So these are some of the biggest product divisions, biggest P&Ls in this country. And I learned an immense amount, and it's a great company. At the end of that, having understood innovation a bit more, I became very passionate about how to create beautiful experiences, and I wanted to actually go and get far closer to the customer and solve a particular problem that I've been trying to solve for many years. So ultimately, I became convinced the only way to do that was to go and do it in a startup and start from scratch, and that's what led me to Tappl and the work that we're doing now.
And you knew someone who'd already started Tappl, is that right?
Yeah. So a colleague, Ben Burge, and some other founders had started Tappl a couple of years before, and we'd been talking about it. I'd seen that the current model wasn't really scaling, and I'd also seen that the core of the platform was something that could solve a problem I'd been trying to solve around getting feedback for teams and individuals and creating better development plans. And so together we started to hatch a plan to change the platform, pivot the platform to something quite new and special to solve that problem. And that was how we got going. Sometimes that can be risky to try and to do that as a team, but so far it's been a fabulous journey.
So give us the pitch. Tell us what Tappl is.
So Tappl really is about solving the problem of quality feedback. We know that when people get feedback about their strengths, their weaknesses, their working style, that it creates benefit for them, it creates benefit for those around them. I think of myself as a leader in Telstra. I got a lot of feedback. As I got to more senior ranks, I got a lot of feedback. And I reckon that helped my effectiveness lift, let's say 30-40%, because you're constantly understanding how you can do better, how you can maximise your strengths and build and leverage them, but also how you can start to work and overcome some of those weaknesses that are holding you and your team back from full effectiveness. Our vision for Tappl is that level of quality feedback leading to growth should be available to everyone. And what we found is in most workplaces, it isn't. There are good, well-meaning leaders who are often too busy. There's a whole bunch of reasons why culturally most workplaces don't have great high-quality feedback cultures or rapid feedback cultures, but whatever the reasons, it's not there. And so Tappl allows people to give each other a mini 360, sort of 60 to 90 seconds per person, so you can Tappl your team in, say, 10 minutes across 13 dimensions that we've done a lot of research in designing. It starts to give you really quality feedback on your strengths and weaknesses, and then we start to give you some content about how you could really grow and develop against those. We see it as a breakthrough for development planning in the workplace and democratising that to everybody.
I love how in the workshops we've been running, we've been talking about it as a Fitbit for workplace effectiveness, like really taking it on for the person, that it's their job to make themselves most effective in the workplace.
Absolutely. It's that we know data, what you measure is what you change, right? And that data makes all the difference. My steps are still 2 or 3 years on, I'm still checking and adjusting my behaviour to optimise my fitness. We think that it works in the workplace. When you get that data, when you get that feedback, you finally have something that you can act on. We think there could be so much more of it. So it really is that sense of daily, weekly rhythms around how am I going, what are my peers telling me, how could I improve, and much faster path to high potential, full potential experiences.
Rather than the yearly performance review.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So what's been the most challenging thing about being a startup founder? That transition from Telstra to startup founder is quite the jump.
Yeah, I think you could probably guess it's some less budgets, no budgets, the very different construct that you're working within, no team, all of the things that in a large corporate you kind of take for granted. Some of that stuff is constrained at times, but you've usually got enough of what you need to drive forward. Coming into Tappl, we had the bones of a team. We had a little bit of money, but ultimately everything's done the smell of an oily rag at this stage. We're pretty much still bootstrapped, and as we get to our next stage and be really confident in what we're doing. So that's been the hardest thing, I think. I keep looking around going, who's going to prepare that deck? That's me. Who's going to go and get involved with the customer research? That's me. So that's been the hardest thing, but probably one of the best things as well. Absolutely, so much more rewarding to be across everything that's going on and right in the heart of it.
I know, because we've been working together, that your Tappl type
Yes.
is not the detail-oriented person.
I'm an instigator.
Yes, and very strategic and visionary.
Yes.
And recently you've been working out how to use MailChimp single-handedly, which I imagine is quite the challenge.
It is. So I'm still not an expert, and we draw on very lean assistance from other experts at times, but I've been teaching myself MailChimp. I'm in the heart of Excel working out certain models, things that I certainly would have delegated once upon a time. But it's super rewarding, and it means that your hands are on the customer experience end to end, and that's the best way to get data. You know, you can't fool when you're getting the data real time from customers. You can't fudge it. You can't drink your own Kool-Aid, which you can do sometimes in a big system. So, yeah. Definitely, detail orientation is a growth area for me in Tappl, and something I've had to lean into in this
And you're
role.
doing it. You're in MailChimp. You mentioned how rewarding it is to be close to the customer.
Yes.
And I imagine at Telstra that is harder. Would that be your most rewarding thing about being a startup founder so far?
I think yes. Understanding the problem I want to solve, being able to define that problem with the customer, and then getting close enough to the customer to believe that we can actually solve this problem at scale, that's been the most rewarding, because it's something I believe, you know, what startup founder doesn't think they're going to change the world, but I deeply believe that creating a feedback culture, and there are companies like, you know, Bridgewater Associates in the US who have done this and seen, and they've become the best at what they do globally because they have a feedback culture. They will say, we are only the best hedge fund because we do this. So I deeply believe in what we're doing, but to work out with customers how, or members we call them, how we might together completely transform workplaces through the power of feedback. That's the most rewarding thing. But being close to them to do that, it makes it possible. Yeah.
So you mentioned you've recently pivoted your idea when you joined Tappl. Talk us through how that came about, and what you've done differently this time, or what the team's done differently this time.
Absolutely. Tappl began with the idea that we could ultimately transform or fix, I guess, in many ways, some of the problems with recruitment. That there's a lot of bad hires. There's a lot of data about the cost of bad hires in all industries, and the fact that something like a LinkedIn really doesn't give you a lot of information about someone other than what they want to show you. So originally we thought there's a truth that Tappl could bring to the table to really help the recruitment process. What we didn't think through or test deeply enough with customers at that time was the fact that the customer, being the recruiter, didn't help the customer who had to provide the data, which was our member. The incentives weren't strong enough for them, and so we didn't get movement on the platform. And ultimately, we didn't believe deeply enough in that problem. So we weren't changing the world, but we were helping. We weren't changing the world. As we started to think about, and certainly my passion, having worked at Telstra for a long time and developed very large teams and spent many hours of my life trying to work out how to take people I love, understand deeply their strengths and weaknesses, together work out a really logical, achievable career path for them, and then help them map that journey, and seeing the incredible motivation that comes from that. That was the problem we really wanted to solve. So the pivot was around understanding who our true customer was, deeply understanding the problem we're solving for them, which is getting quality feedback and help using that feedback to go on a journey to something that's going to be deeply fulfilling, and then working out how to do that in a way that they would trust us as a partner to go on that journey. That was the pivot. It's quite a long way. Well, we use the same platform of the 13 questions. It's quite a long way from where we started. Yeah. So that was and we knew we needed immediate customer input or member input to that to get that right, because we can't solve that unless we have their trust.
Yeah, interesting. So getting the customers in earlier than you did the first time around has been really important.
Absolutely. And knowing one thing that Cogent did for us was the risky assumptions. If we really think people are going to trust us with something that's so precious to them, this affects their livelihood, is that an assumption we can truly bank on? And if that doesn't hold true, are we dead? We had to face into that very early. It was a scary moment in this very room where we were like, can we do this? And we went to that place, and we're now at a place where we absolutely believe we can make that assumption, but we can do it with data, and we can do it with insight from customers, not hope.
I think that's a really key point around facing the scariest thing about your business model early is really important. And we were in that workshop together, and there was a lot of post-it notes up on the wall that had risky assumptions on them, and that was the biggest one. And I remember leaving that workshop thinking, oh gosh, like I should have prepared you better for that workshop. But leaning into that scary, possibly business-ending assumption early will save you so much time and effort.
As early as possible.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
No matter how scary it might be. So what prompted you to work with Cogent? We've just spoken about one of the workshops that we ran, but why did you come to Cogent in the first place?
A few things. I mean, having spent a lot of time in product design at Telstra and running those businesses, I'm a deep believer in design thinking and quality design, customer engagement research, and all of the methods. It's harder to apply them sustainability and quality in that space, but I knew that if we were going to make this pivot and solve this problem, I needed the best thinking, the best customer engagement, the best design work to help go on that journey. We looked at a number of options, and what we liked about Cogent was that they did have quality staff, they had clear processes, they'd worked with startups before, so we knew this wasn't something they were working at as they went along. And there was a flexibility. We didn't have huge budgets. Wish we did, we didn't. But we knew what we wanted. And so we were able to find a way to do a lot for a little. And that was going in, I wasn't quite sure if we were going to pull it off, and that's what we've been able to achieve. But that was why Cogent stood out for us as a great partner.
I think it's interesting that you came to us specifically needing product and design help. A lot of startups come to us thinking that we can just build something for them.
Right.
But we find that when we're working with teams like you, that validating our ideas up front before engaging development is a much better path to a better product at the end.
Absolutely.
And so we encourage more startup founders to do what you did, because it was a really great process. I really enjoyed going through it with you.
I commend you for it, because it's courageous. I was thinking when we were doing it, I was thinking, wow, this could be business, what do they call it? Business, not development, but basically business killing. Because people come in and say, won't you build this? And first thing you do is challenge their business model, challenge all their assumptions, and they're like, if those don't hold up, then you're not going to get the rest of the work. So, I commend you guys for the courage of doing the right thing, no matter what the outcome.
Yeah, we believe in building great businesses, not just building software. Yeah. Finally, what advice would you give to other startup founders who are on this journey about building great products? What have you learnt so far?
The biggest thing from the Tappl journey for me has been to deeply believe or understand the problem you're solving, and spend as much time as necessary to be crystal clear that you know the problem, that it is genuinely a problem for humans and your potential customer base. And I think preferably that it's a global opportunity, or it's an opportunity of scale, that when things get tough, when you face into funding requirements, all those things, that you can point to something that's going to have a significant impact. Because there'll be a lot of mornings and a lot of people that you're talking to that if it isn't big enough, it's going to get hard to get through a few hurdles. So big, hopefully global problem that you deeply understand, or understand better than anyone else. And then I'd say getting the right help, getting the right people around you, not trying to go it alone. I don't know if it's just Aussies, but there's a lot of people who want to try and go solve problems on their own way and be a hero or something like that. I have found some of my best learnings, best insights, best progress has been when we've brought the right people around us at the right time and taken their learnings and had that hack. So surround yourself with people who can help. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, JC.
Pleasure. Great to be here.